Good afternoon, my faithful listeners, and thank you for tuning in to the Post-Apocalyptic News Radio, your only source for the latest goings-on in the little corner of the post-apocalyptic wasteland we call home. Today is Thursday, the 12th of June, and we're live at the bottom of the hour for more of the latest. Before anything, the mandatory weather report. Rain continues to cover our wasteland, giving a much-needed respite from the summer heat, and returning us to pre-incident conditions. Slight flooding can be expected for low-lying areas, however. If you find yourself in such an area, please remember that moving water up to your ankles is enough to fell you. Do not test the water, for it's a watery grave you'll find if the water wins. Flooding is not expected to become too severe as the rains are not heavy enough to sustain it for very much longer. You can expect the rain to continue throughout the week, and early into next week. The humidity is down 20% and we can expect temperatures peaking at 27 degrees Celsius with a low tonight of 24. Mild winds are expected tonight, so do ensure your shelter is prepared for the wind and continued rains. That concludes our mandatory weather segment, and brings us to real news. It's time for our daily siege report. The MCR invaded and took control of our wasteland not long ago, but the studio's defense is held. Now, a bitter standoff between your home for music and news and a society of brutes. As you may have noticed, we were off the air yesterday, the 11th of June. This was entirely the fault of Gaius. He and the director are still engaged in a certain discourse to find reasonable terms to settle our current situation. This while still holding a legion of men beyond our doors. Yesterday, Gaius insisted on a staff meeting, where certain temporary points had been agreed on, as a show of good faith between the studio and the MCR. This meeting was in fact mandatory, and regrettably forced us to be off the air during yesterday's scheduled time. A certain change may be coming to our usual news broadcast, and that is a co-host for the news, someone handpicked by Legatus Aurelius to speak to you, my faithful listeners, alongside me. This as to ensure a more unbiased view of events as they occur. Starting very soon, you may hear the voice of one Katerina Koala. Is that her name? Strange. You may hear the voice of one Katerina Koala over the air. This despite my continued protests. In lighter news, however, Mr. Rodriguez was returned to the studio seemingly unharmed. This as part of the good faith agreements made between the studio and the MCR. His report of events will be made available as soon as possible. With that, it's time for our regularly scheduled break. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sitting here much earlier than the broadcast to record the advertisement for today. Jenny's with me. Say hello, Jenny. You probably can't hear her on the mic, I'd imagine. Nevertheless, Jenny did say hello. I'm speaking to you in protest of the script I was handed to record today on behalf of the MCR. An advertisement for the trade of men, women, and children to labor in your stead, to tend the fields, livestock, or home. I cannot in good conscience record such an advertisement, nor can I support such a barbaric practice as this. To deny the freedoms of another man, to hoard for yourself all pleasures of life, and deny them completely to others in your company. To own another is the very antithesis of who we are. It is a symptom of a society that cannot hold itself under its own weight. It is an act that will display such a lack of humanity and decency that we cannot distinguish you from the abominations of our wasteland. My faithful listeners, this is what the MCR brings with them. This and so many other evils. We cannot, in good conscience, submit to such acts. And soon, my voice will be irrevocably altered, as the MCR gains access to this booth. As the first words of mine are censored, the duty falls to the people to confront these evils, to destroy them and drive them out, to preserve the decency of mankind, to preserve our humanity and what hope we have. I ask each of you, my faithful listeners, to do all that you might. This tape will be my final word to you, my faithful listeners. I have no doubt that at this time, I've been escorted from the recording booth. You will hear me speak to you again, I swear it, but my words may not be my own. As thoughts become forbidden, as sentiments become censored, and as the security of my station and my life fall into question, I will say what I must. Until next time, I wish you all the very best. And if you're truly out there, if you're listening and willing to do what you must, if you are truly out there, good luck.